Welcome and thank you for joining us for our second half hour. The Factor Uncensored R&B singer Cassie Ventura returning to the stand today in the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. She went into more details about the alleged freak-off sex sessions she participated in for years, saying she suffered from multiple urinary tract infections and mouth sores from all the oral sex. The singer says the UTIs were so painful she switched to opiates after her antibacterial medication stopped working. According to Cassie, her recovery from the marathon sessions would also include massages and IV fluids. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering. Joining us to talk about it, Dr. Marcel Thompson of Venus Restorative Health and Wellness Center, and defense attorney and former Harris County prosecutor Bayoji Akingbala. So, Dr. Marcel, we brought you in, first of all, to talk about all of those issues, medical issues. Mm-hmm. It has truly, according to her testimony, taken a toll on her. Mm.
Yes, I mean, whenever you have extended, prolonged type of intercourse for an extended amount of time, it could change the vaginal pH, so far cause abrasions. So a lot of different aspects of having constant extended amounts of intercourse to a vaginal tissue and to the oral tissue.
And when you have sex, maybe, possibly, we don't know if it was unprotected or not, you're at risk of many diseases that are out there.
Correct, because like I said, it's when you have whenever the skin is broken, you have a potential for infection. And in this particular case, with multiple partners, multiple extended amount of time, just that itself, whether it's with a condom or without a condom, you still have increased risk.
And when you hear her testimony and what she had to say and all the things she went through, many people call it freak-offs, but it sounds like a sex slave that she had become.
It appears that way. You know, we do have some amount of patients who are in that particular swingers lifestyle. But in this particular case where she was noted that she was having just repeated forced sex with, and that kind of crosses the boundaries.
And that's the key word, forced sex, or because she wanted to please Diddy.
Correct.
Bayoji, your thoughts on today's testimony and what she had to say, anything that sticks out, earth-shattering?
You know, I think the prosecution is doing a good job just laying brick by brick their case. If we go through the three charges, when it comes to racketeering, we heard Cassie testify that Diddy relied on a lot of employees, and then she even named names of employees that would, by her testimony, keep her in hotels after she got beat, employees that would provide drugs, and employees that would get these freak-off rooms ready. That goes to the racketeering aspect because it's a criminal enterprise that are committing the crimes. When it comes to the transportation of escorts, she named at least 13 male escorts. Wow. And she testified that she was doing this at the direction of Diddy, hiring these escorts with Diddy's money. And so that goes to the charge of Diddy transporting escorts through state lines, because she also testified that these 13 escorts, they were having freak-offs in various cities all throughout the United States. And then lastly, with respect to sex trafficking, and I think this is the controversial one in my opinion, she talked about the numerous instances of domestic violence that happen during freak-offs, before freak-offs, after freak-offs, throughout. And from that, the federal prosecutors are trying to say it's from that cycle of violence that she felt coerced into having sex with these male escorts. So they did a pretty effective job today.
And from your perspective, it will be the defense turns tomorrow. From your perspective, what do you think will happen there?
Well, remind me of your name.
Thompson.
Dr. Thompson mentioned swingers, which is a consensual thing. And I think what the defense attorney is going to have to show is that you guys are living a swinger lifestyle, and you chose to do it. A couple of times, Cassie would say things like, I did this because I loved him. I did this because I didn't want somebody else to do it with her. So those are choices that you're making. You may not have liked it, but you made that decision because you wanted to make your man happy. And I think they're going to really have to tease that out. Yes, there is domestic violence, and they're going to have to embrace their bad fact. But if you paid careful attention to Cassie's testimony, she never said Diddy said, if you don't do this, sex act, I'm going to beat you. She just said he was beating me all throughout. So they're going to have to get into to some specific questions. Did he ever specifically threaten you, do the sex act or else? She said she took a lot of drugs. They should ask questions like, did he force you to take drugs? You took those drugs voluntarily. He never drugged you without your knowledge, did he? So things like that where they have to show you made specific choices, whether or not you are now not liking those choices and regretting those choices, you made choices. Lastly, with respect to credibility, she testified that she's jealous. So that's a reason to lie, right? She's jealous because he moved on. She also testified that she won a $20 million settlement, an incentive to embellish because you're getting a financial benefit from sticking to this version of events. So I think there are some effective things that can happen on cross-examination that can undermine her credibility and lay the defensive theory out of their case.
And how important is it that the defense they don't come across as badgering her before that jury?
Yes. In law school, we were taught you can cross without being cross. So I'm speaking very animatedly right now, but one strategy that they're going to do is they're going to have a female defense lawyer cross-examine her. When I cross-examine women in some trials, what I'll do is I'll soften my tone like this. Isn't it true, ma'am, that you took those drugs voluntarily? Is that true? So you don't have to be loud, but you can be very matter-of-fact, and I think that way you don't turn off the jurors when you're trying to make your points on cross-examination.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on the